welcome to The Explainer. All right, today we're digging into a bombshell BBC investigation. It's about what Jeffrey Epstein was doing in the UK, and maybe more importantly, how a formal complaint about his trafficking network was reportedly made to police years ago. And it seems like nothing happened. So let's get right into the evidence.
And really, this one question, this is at the absolute heart of what the BBC uncovered. It's the question that just hangs over everything we're about to talk about.
So where does this all start? Well, not with Epstein's death, but way back in 2015. That's when a formal complaint was lodged directly with London's Metropolitan Police. And that should have been a turning point.
Okay, so check out this timeline. In 2015, Virginia Giuffre went to the London police. She told them she'd been trafficked to the UK by Epstein. I mean, that is an incredibly direct, incredibly serious allegation. But here's the kicker. The BBC found that a full, proper investigation into Epstein, his UK network, or any of his associates here, it just never got launched.
So you have to ask, right? What was actually going on in the UK during those years after the police were told? What did this investigation find out about Epstein's operations on the ground? Well, they found clear, pretty staggering evidence of a dedicated UK network. And look, we're not talking about a few isolated incidents. This was a structured, functioning machine, a key part of Epstein's global sex trafficking operation, and it was based right here in Britain. And the really fascinating part is how the investigation just breaks it all down into these operational pieces. This wasn't some vague idea. No, we're talking about specific people in the UK who are helping him, actual apartments being used to house women and girls, a money trail on credit card receipts, and just this constant routine travel. Okay, so let's get into the concrete evidence, because the documents they found, they don't just suggest a network. They actually pinpoint addresses and even the travel routes. For starters, the investigation pinpointed 4 separate addresses, all in London's very wealthy Kensington and Chelsea borough. And get this, these weren't properties he owned. These were flats he specifically rented to house the women he was abusing. And here you can really see the cold, hard logistics of it all. It was like a pipeline. Women were housed in those London flats and then, like clockwork, moved on the Eurostar train, shuttled directly from the UK to Epstein's enormous 18-room home right in the middle of Paris. But why Paris? Well, a survivor's own words make it just terrifyingly clear. For Epstein, Paris meant anonymity. And it meant there was a steady supply of victims waiting for him. It was a perfect and horrifying hub for his abuse. So with all of this evidence on the table, and remember, a lot of this was happening after that 2015 police complaint, it brings up the one huge question that won't go away. Why wasn't anything done? A former senior detective with the Met, Kevin Hyland, he really summed it up. He told the BBC that people are simply outraged that after someone came forward with these allegations, Epstein was, in his words, just allowed to carry on. And this is where it gets really interesting. Experts are pointing to another huge case in the UK, Jimmy Savile. After Savile died, police investigations continued for years, and that's exactly how they exposed his entire network of enablers. So the question becomes unavoidable. Why on earth wasn't that same logic applied to Epstein's powerful network? And then there's the legal side of this, which is just wow. On one hand, you have human rights lawyers saying the UK has a positive legal obligation, a duty, to investigate credible trafficking allegations, even if victims don't press charges. But on the other hand, the official response from the Metropolitan Police is that they are confident they fulfilled their legal duties. It's a stark contrast. Okay, so that brings us right up to today. Now that these details about the UK network are out in the open, there's a growing and, frankly, powerful demand for some real accountability. So what's happening right now? Well, for one, survivors over in the United States are leading the charge. They are officially calling for a full UK public inquiry. And the Met Police, they say they're still assessing whether UK air courts were used as transit points. But for so many people, the key question is much, much simpler. Could this entire network have been dismantled if someone had just taken action back in 2015? And that leaves us with this final, vital question. When the very institutions that are supposed to protect people fail to act, who's left to find the truth? Who carries that burden to make sure justice is finally served? It's a question that now hangs over this entire devastating